My ex-wife tried to reconcile after she cheated on me. I refused. So, she sabotaged my new marriage. I'm 38, divorced, and in a much better place than I was 6 years ago. Back then, I was married to a woman who, on the surface, seemed like the perfect partner. She was charming, ambitious, and had this way of making people believe she always knew what she was doing. But behind closed doors, she cared more about appearances and control than building something real. Our marriage fell apart when I found out she was cheating on me with some guy who, for this story, I'll call Pete. Pete was flashy, successful, and everything she thought I wasn't. She left me for him, and to make matters worse, she tried to bleed me dry in the divorce. She demanded ridiculous amounts of money, claiming she'd supported me emotionally through my career. Even though we both worked full-time, she spent most of her earnings on designer bags and spa weekends. It wasn't until my lawyer dug up her hidden debts that she backed off. In the end, I got to keep what was mine, and she walked away with Pete. I thought that was the last I'd ever see of her. Fast forward 6 years. I've moved on, both emotionally and financially. I'm in a healthy relationship with Sarah, who's everything my ex wasn't: kind, grounded, and genuinely supportive. I've done well for myself at work, climbed the ladder, and even bought a house that feels like home, not just a showpiece. Life was good, and I had no reason to think about my ex. Then, out of the blue, she tried to make a reappearance. It started small: friend requests on Facebook and Instagram. I ignored them. Then came the texts: "Hey, how are you? And can we talk?" I blocked all. But then she got creative. She emailed one of my colleagues, claiming we were still on good terms and asking if they could help her find a job. She even CC'd me in the email, probably thinking it would pressure me into helping. I wasn't having it. I called my colleague immediately, explained the situation, and sent her a reply: "Don't use my name to advance yourself. This is completely inappropriate." That shut her down for a while. I found out through mutual friends what had happened. Pete had gambled away their savings, cheated on her, and then left her with nothing. She had to move back in with her parents, which was ironic considering they always looked down on me for not being successful enough for their daughter. I figured she was reaching out because she thought I'd bail her out. No chance. I'd moved on, and she was not my responsibility. But she didn't give up. A few weeks later, I heard she was telling mutual friends that I owed her for everything she gave up during our marriage. At a dinner party, she actually had the nerve to say, "I let him keep everything in the divorce because I didn't want to fight over money." I kept my cool and replied, "That's not how I remember it. I recall you withdrawing your demands after my lawyer found your hidden credit cards and overdue bills." She went quiet after that, but I could tell she was seething. Then she escalated. She showed up at my office unannounced, acting like she was just there to catch up. But it didn't take long for her to start talking about how it would be easier for both of us if we shared expenses again. She even suggested she could help out around the house if I let her move back in. I stared at her, completely dumbfounded, before saying, "That's not happening. You made your choices, and I've moved on." She kept pushing, so I called security to escort her out. It was humiliating for her, but I wasn't going to let her bulldoze her way into my life again. The final straw came at a family barbecue last weekend. My cousin invited me and Sarah, and we were looking forward to a relaxed afternoon. What I didn't know was that my cousin's wife had invited my ex because she felt sorry for her. When I saw her walk in, my stomach sank. I considered leaving, but Sarah said, "We're not letting her ruin our day. If she starts anything, we'll handle it." It didn't take long for her to make her move. She started chatting with Sarah, all fake smiles and overly familiar comments like, "Oh, he used to love this song, and he's always been picky about his food, hasn't he?" Sarah handled it well, but I could tell she wasn't amused. Then, during a lull in the conversation, my ex stood up and said loudly, "I'm so glad we're all mature enough to move past old wounds. Forgiveness is such a beautiful thing, don't you think?" She looked directly at me, smiling like she'd just delivered a Hallmark card. I wasn't going to let her spin her narrative unchallenged. I said, "Forgiveness is fine, but let's not confuse it with forgetting. You didn't make a mistake. You made a series of choices that destroyed our marriage. I've moved on, and I suggest you do the same." The entire table went silent. She looked shocked, like she didn't expect me to push back. Instead of backing down, she launched into a rant about how unfair I was being and how everyone deserves a second chance. She even tried to guilt me by saying, "You used to love me. Doesn't that mean anything?" Before I could respond, Sarah cut in. Her voice was calm but cold. Redemption isn't about demanding second chances. It's about changing your behavior and earning trust. From what I've seen, you're still stuck in the same patterns. That shut her up. She stormed off a few minutes later, muttering about how cruel I was. But she wasn't done. After the barbecue, she tried to pull my cousin's wife aside to get sympathy, saying I'd humiliated her. My cousin overheard and told her, "No one forced you to come here or bring up the past. You did this to yourself." She left shortly after, but the drama didn't stop there. A few days later, she started calling my family members to complain about how unfairly she'd been treated. She told my mom that I was holding a grudge and refusing to help her out, even though I was in a position to. My mom, bless her, shut her down immediately. She said, "He's happy now, and that's all that matters to me. Don't drag me into this." My ex then tried to guilt trip my dad, saying, "I always thought of you as a father figure. Can't you talk to him?" My dad, who's never been one for drama, simply said, "I think you should stop calling," and hang up. Her entitlement didn't stop there. She managed to get Sarah's phone number, probably through social media, and texted her a long, rambling message about how she hoped they could put the past behind them and work together for my sake. Sarah showed me the message and said, "Do you want to handle this, or should I?" I told her to go ahead. She replied, "There's nothing for us to work on. Your issues are yours alone. Stop contacting me." Then she blocked the number. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. It was some half-baked attempt at a legal threat, claiming that the events at the barbecue had caused her emotional distress and demanding an apology and financial compensation. I couldn't believe the audacity. I forwarded the letter to my lawyer, who drafted a formal response threatening counterclaims for harassment and defamation if she pursued it further. Unsurprisingly, I never heard back. Her next move was to start spreading rumors. Mutual friends told me she was telling anyone who'd listened that Sarah was a gold digger and that I'd changed since being with her. At first, I thought about ignoring it, but then I realized that letting her run her mouth unchecked wasn't an option. Sarah and I went to a mutual friend's party where some of the rumors had been circulating. When someone brought it up, Sarah just laughed and said, "Wow, if I'm a gold digger, I must be doing a terrible job. He still makes me split the bill on date nights." Everyone laughed, and the rumors died on the spot. The last straw came when she posted a long, melodramatic rant on Facebook, tagging me and Sarah. She accused me of abandoning her when she needed me most and called Sarah a manipulative homewrecker. The post was filled with lies, but it was also so over the top that most people saw right through it. Still, I wasn't going to let her control the narrative. I wrote my own post, keeping it short and to the point. Some people use social media to air grievances instead of taking accountability for their actions. I won't be engaging in public drama, but for those wondering, my life is good, my relationships are strong, and I have no regrets about the decisions I've made. Her post backfired spectacularly. Dozens of people commented in support of me and Sarah, with many calling her out for her behavior. Within hours, she deleted the post, but the damage to her reputation was already done. Looking back, I can't say I'm surprised by how things unfolded. My ex has always been the type to avoid accountability and look for shortcuts, even if it means stepping on other people to get what she wants. What surprised me was how much stronger I'd become since our divorce. Every time she tried to manipulate me, I pushed back harder, and every time she tried to guilt me, I refused to let it stick. Sarah has been a rock through all of this, and I'm more grateful for her than ever. She never let my ex get under her skin, and she always reminded me that we didn't have to put up with anyone's nonsense, no matter how loud or persistent they were. We've come out of this closer than ever, and I know now that I'll never let anyone like my ex back into my life. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. People only have as much power over you as you give them. My ex tried every trick in the book to worm her way back into my life, but I wasn't the same person she'd left behind. I'm proud of the life I've built, and I'm not about to let anyone take that away from me. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.